Hey everybody, it's John Hope Bryant, founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of Operation Hope. Today I'm also talking about something else I founded after 9/11, Hope Coalition America. Founded it really in the eye of the storm. We had employees in the towers directly across from where 9/11 struck in New York City. I remember those days as if they were yesterday. We were in the Bankers Trust building, my employees were, and they were running away from that building as the Twin Towers fell and lives were lost. And I remember not just the investment bankers who lost their lives. I remember the janitors, the office workers, the average people who were already living from paycheck to paycheck during that time. Before that time. In many ways, they were in an economic crisis before the natural disaster crisis ever hit. I remember the stories of the Hispanic mother of two whose husband had been lost in those towers. And they had not talked about the bank account that he maintained. He paid all the bills. They didn't talk about money because it was sort of taboo in the family. No one talked about money. No one got the memo. So she's dealing with the trauma of having lost her husband, the love of her life. All the news attention being on the wealthy, the rich, the connected. But she's got a rent to pay in 3 days. She's got utility bills. She has food she's got to put on the table. She's got kids who she's got to break this to, and daycare bills that she's got to pay within 24 hours, and she has no access to the money because her husband handled all of that. She didn't know what the records are, what the bank accounts were, what the life insurance policy was. She didn't know if he had a life insurance policy. They didn't talk about any of that because it was taboo. The man handled that. We were lucky enough to find her and others like her and to help them to get through this disaster after the disaster. And then came Hurricane Katrina, where we helped more people than the American Red Cross, other than the American Red Cross and the federal government. More than 300,000 people we assisted with what we now call emergency financial disaster, or emergency financial economic disaster preparedness, response, and recovery. Essentially, Hope Coalition America is the economic Red Cross for the whole country. And we partner with the Red Cross, we partner with FEMA to help you get to the services that you need in times like these. If you're in Houston, if you know somebody is in Houston, if you're anywhere in Texas who is affected by Hurricane Harvey, I want you to call our number. I want you to tell your friends to call our number. Our services are free. And this recovery in Houston will take, hold on, upwards of a dozen years. Not a dozen days, not a dozen weeks, not a dozen months, a dozen years. That's how devastating the damage is in Houston and other parts of Texas for Hurricane Harvey. I'm going to give you some more stats here in a minute. I'm going to bring my director on who's live right now in Texas, Jason Yancey, who runs Hope Coalition America, voicing the pain, the frustration, and some of our solutions in first person. But now you have hurricanes, I've counted 3 now, from Category 1 to Category 4, barreling down on the entire state of Florida. Anybody in Florida, and I've gotten several calls from people in Florida who say, well, maybe I should leave, maybe I shouldn't. What should I do? Leave. If you have any capacity to get out of Florida, this is no time to be negotiating with your own life. Leave. Leave. Get a group of people together. If you don't have enough gas in one car, get a group of people together, put gas from 4 cars in one car, but I want you out of that state. I don't care about the traffic. Every mile you get down the road, away from the coast, the safer you are. Leave. I want you out of Florida. This is nothing to play with. I heard from a friend of mine that her friend's husband said he was staying in his house because it was ocean front to, quote, make sure the house was okay. I'm gonna put aside the fact that he let his wife and their child Twitter off on their own, and she's looking for a way to get out of Florida herself. I'm not sure the marriage is gonna even survive that conversation after this is all over, because he made the wrong choice. But he wants to sit around and protect the house. First of all, the house doesn't need your protection. Second of all, other than some storm doors and windows, you cannot protect that house. In fact, you become another liability to the state, the city, the federal government, and yourself by staying in that house. And he's got no excuse because this person was wealthy. Most people who do not recover from natural disasters are the poor. I don't know if you knew that. This is directly from FEMA. We partner with FEMA as well. And I can't respond to your questions and your comments right now because I'm live on a one-dimensional camera. My man Jamie Nelson is looking at your comments, and he will make sure that I respond later this evening. So just know that this is live, and I will get back to you, and I will be responding to comments. And Jason, I want Jason to come up on the screen here and join me in this conversation. Those who do not recover from natural disasters all across this country, since the beginning of FEMA started and data was recorded, are the poor and the underserved and the struggling. Why is that? Are rich people smarter? No, they're not. They're rich. People make bad decisions about natural disasters and whether to stay or whether to go, primarily for economic reasons. I can't afford to get a plane, or I waited so late, the plane flights are too expensive, and I can't get out of here. I can't afford to drive for 5 hours and pay the gas bill and then to get the hotel bill. No, you can't afford not to pay. I told my own family in Houston, who stuck around too long after Harvey, and God bless them, they didn't get hurt, but it's only by the grace of God that they didn't get hurt. They stuck around in Houston. I believe they stuck around because of economic reasons. All my house was messed up. Whether you are there or not, all the airports are shut down. What's this shutting down? We waited one day before the disaster. Oh, the freeways are packed. Of course they're packed. We waited till one day before the disaster. You've been hearing about this, ladies and gentlemen, for at least a week. And 2 days before the disaster, you have got to get out. You have got to get, this is nothing to play with. You're playing with your life. You're playing, if you're not concerned about yourself, you can play with your children's life. You're playing with your wife or your husband's life, your family members. And what have I often said on this channel? Watch how you live your life. It may be the only Bible that anybody else reads. You're not just yourself. You are a role model. You are a leader. And people are watching you for what they should do. So here's Houston. And here's why our work is so important, and people getting the memo is so incredibly important. Jason will correct me in the numbers, because I'm sure the numbers have gone up. Hey, Jason Yancey.
Hey, Chairman Bryant.
The numbers, I'm sure, have gone up. I'm sure he's in the car right now in Houston, leading our disaster recovery efforts. Essentially, Red Cross and FEMA go there. FEMA's there the first minute. Red Cross is there 2 minutes later, helping with the disaster recovery of people's human body. We show up about 2 weeks later and help with the economic recovery, which typically has, so you got car loans and no cars anymore. Home loans, but no home anymore. A small business loan, but no small business anymore. You've got bills, but no job anymore. And this gets worse over time, and you're already traumatized and stressed out. You don't know what your options are. That's why we created Hope Coalition America. We do all those negotiations on your behalf for free. Did you hear me? Free. There are no costs for the service. Jason will give you the number. You can call and tell those you love to call. Make sure you share this video with all the people. Put it on your Facebook page. Tell people this resource is there with them. And it will be ramping up over the coming weeks. Here's some numbers. When I first talked to Jason, there were about 100,000 homes that were damaged in Houston alone. The next number I got from Dr. Peter Ward, and this was 3 days later, the number jumped to 200,000 homes. Only 15% of these homes have flood insurance. Repeat that number. 200,000 200,000 homes, many of which will be red tagged, which means they cannot live in them anymore. They're done. And only 15%, this is a maximum, by the way, guesstimate of people who are insured. 15% maximum people insured have flood insurance, because it's not a flood zone in Houston. You're not required to get flood insurance, which means those homes are not covered. So you got to get in that line for FEMA. You got to call that number. You got to go to a shelter. And when you go there, when you get to the front, they're going to give you, if you're lucky, $2,000 in a travel voucher for a hotel. And if you're financially literate, you're going to waste that money. But you've got to also get back in line and fill out an emergency disaster application so that you can get as much as $33,000. Again, Jason will correct me if these numbers are wrong. But if your house is red tagged, here's something you need to know. You can get a maximum of $33,000. So if you have a mortgage of $250,000 on a home worth $270,000, it could be that you will only get $33,000 to reset your life, and you're going to need a plan of what to do if that's the case. But if your house is not red tagged, if you are still in your home or able to get back into your home, but now you're late on your mortgage payment, you need to know, please listen to this. Tell all your friends what I'm about to say. You need to know your rights. If your home is FHA or Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac underwritten, they guaranteed or purchased your mortgage. You wouldn't know that because the loan would say Bank of America on it, or it would say SunTrust or whatever bank that you got your loan from, or Joe's Mortgage Company. They sold that debt to Wall Street. But underneath that loan, you got to figure out whether, and my people know this, whether it's government insured. If the loan is government insured, most every mortgage under $400,000 probably has government insurance on it. You don't have to make payments for between 3 and 6 months, but you've got to get one of my counselors at Hope Coalition America or Hope Inside to call on your behalf with you, and hopefully with one of our volunteer virtual bankers who are going to be leaning into this activity in coming weeks and months, to call your banker with you on the line to renegotiate, to ask for something they're probably not going to tell you about unless we ask for it, because in many cases they don't know either. They don't know that you have this right, and you don't know you don't have this right. So you may end up stressed out over a foreclosure or car notes or whatever. I'm sorry, or a mortgage note for no good reason, when we could buy you as much as 6 months of no payments in federally approved disaster zones. I could say more, but I'm going to bring Jason on. Jason, thank you so much for your leadership there. I'm very proud of you. Give us a little bit of an update of what's going on in Houston. Give us some of the stats, the facts. Was I right about the number of 200,000 homes and the 15% insured, et cetera, et cetera? Jason?
Yes, absolutely, John. It's very important. People don't know what they don't know, as you always say. And so what's critical is that they call to get the assistance from professionals. There is $33,000 available for assistance, but most people are scared to ask. They don't know how to acquire those resources. And when they get it, to utilize those dollars to budget, to make sure. Right now, you have a lot of contractors who are not licensed in the state of Texas driving to Houston so that they can rip off people, because they know they're going to get FEMA dollars. They know they're going to get insurance dollars. So you literally, oftentimes we say first responders are some criminals. It brings out the best and the worst in people. And so people don't know oftentimes how to navigate the disaster. And so we've done this for a number of 16 years now, so we can give people some of that information, saying, hey, let's go on the website and make sure that this contractor is licensed. Let's make sure they're getting the proper permits to do the work that they need. And those numbers that you mentioned from 200,000 homes, it's going up because they're afraid to keep giving accurate numbers because the water hasn't receded yet in some areas. So they're waiting to say exactly how many homes, because people are just now being able to go back and sort of assess the damage to their house.
So I also heard, Jason, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
I also
yes,
heard
John.
that I was talking to the president of the American Red Cross yesterday, Gail McGovern, who's doing a fantastic job. I also heard that we're going to be working with them more closely. I also heard that normally right now, people in shelters, that number would be going down right now, but in temporary shelters. But I'm understanding that those numbers are still staying constant. Number one, is that true? Number two, I've heard that there are about 500,000 folks who filed for assistance in Houston alone. I've not even gotten to Florida, Houston alone, but they're estimating that number to go up to as much as 800,000 people filing for assistance. Is that true?
That both of those are correct, and that's atypical of a disaster. Generally, after the disaster hits, they will see after the first 4 or 5 days the numbers in shelters decrease, and that has not happened. People are staying in the shelters. In addition, the numbers now over FEMA registrations, it's over 600,000. And so, as mentioned before, people have not been able to get back to their homes yet. There are still that have not been able to assess the damage. So that number is expected to go up, maybe a couple 100,000.
Jason, what would you say if I said that this is the first natural disaster that you will manage in all these years, where I think the economic crisis is going to be much larger than the physical and emotional crisis of the disaster itself? In other words, the water coming, the storm itself, that impact on people's lives, the loss of life is horrible. But that the economic disaster part of this, the lost homes, the uninsured property, the lost automobiles, the lost jobs, the lower GDP, the stagnating economy, the issues of theft, the issues of fact that these are poor people and struggling families who didn't get the memo on money being pimped and preyed upon like a slow-moving train wreck over time. This economic piece on this disaster is much larger in Houston specifically than all the others. Am I right or wrong?
You are 100% right. This is going to last years, and you hit it. You have neighborhoods where you can literally feel that there's no hope. You can see the depression within the neighborhoods that I'm sure predated this disaster, but you have people coming into the center that don't know the resources. They don't have the self-esteem to ask for some of the resources, and these neighborhoods are the ones that will be affected, because in addition to all of the financial component with having the cost to rebuild and recover financially, now you're going to have additional costs, because now this is going to be a designated flood area. And so as previous disasters showed us, Hurricane Sandy, we saw in an area that was not a flood zone after Sandy, you could not get flood insurance for under $33,000 a year. And this wasn't a well-off neighborhood. This was a blue-collar neighborhood.
So let's tell people what they can do. Let's give them some hope. They should download if you're in the path of this next hurricane in Florida, Hurricane Irma. If you're anywhere in that path in the several states, download an EFAC right now, the Emergency Financial First Aid Kit that Operation Hope Coalition America, and FEMA designed together. The EFAC, download that. There's been millions downloaded already, but probably struggling neighborhoods don't know about that. Download the EFAC right now, and it's free. And sit down with your family tonight at the kitchen table, and put copies of your phone, but copies of your driver's license in there. Copies of your credit cards in there. Write down your next of kin, the person you trust, the person who has copies of your documentation. Because if something hits your house, it doesn't do any good. It doesn't do any good to leave documents in your house in an attic or in a drawer, because that'll be flooded or burned down. You need to take copies of those documents and put them someplace else with someone else. Put those documents someplace and mail them to somebody else. But you got to get them out of your possession and in some place that can be accessed later. Or take the EFAC document, fill it all out, and then take picture photos with your phone, your smartphone, of all those pages of your data, of your credit cards, of your life insurance policy, of your driver's license, of your birth certificate, all the things you're going to need to get aid after the crisis, and put that in the cloud. Upload it on your iPhone, on whatever device you use. Get it out of your possession and into the cloud, or into somebody's possession that you trust, that you can access later. Don't give it to your cousin Boo Boo, who's a crook. Don't give it to Auntie JoJo, who filed for bankruptcy. Give it to somebody you trust. That's the first thing you do. Jason, did I get that right?
Absolutely, John. What people don't know is if you can't show a valid ID with a physical address, you will not be allowed back in that area to even see if your property is still standing. So those that had an ID with them or a copy of an identification card showing their address, they're getting dollars immediately from FEMA versus some who didn't have a driver's license or anything stored or get access. They
Right.
still can't get access.
And also,
Are they
if you go to, no, go ahead, Jason.
No, that's it. You got it.
So if you go to get your $2,000 because you're in the path, I'm dealing with Houston now. Now you got to Florida and Irma, and you need money right now for your family to get by, to get some gas, get some food. You have got to have what when you go to that FEMA or American Red Cross Emergency Center or the Operation Hope Center? What do you need?
You have to be able to show proof of who you are. And so be it a identification card, driver's license, passport, something to show who you are to register.
So don't get upset. Don't cop an attitude. Don't, hey, you should know who I am. Government knows everything. There's no time for all that drama, people. There's no time to get emotional. There's no time to get reactive. You got to respond and not react. You got to be thoughtful. As I said, solving poverty from the neck up. You've got to get your business straight, because the more organized you are, the quicker you're going to get resources to get your life back on track. Now, another thing that happened when crisis hit Alabama, I guess, Jason, what was that, 6 or 7 years ago, when we tried to help people out, there was 100,000 people who were affected in Alabama, but only 10,000 people filled out an application for assistance.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, people? And those 10,000 people were mostly middle-class, organized families who were trying to augment their insurance proceeds. The poor people who never got the memo, the struggling people, white and black, never even asked for their money. Here's one reason they didn't ask for their money. The property had been passed down from grandma to your mother to you without documentation. There was no title policy. It was just a verbal agreement, and verbal agreements don't work in the case of law. And not with regard to real estate. You got to be approved that this is your property, and with some written documentation. Number two, in order to get the big low interest loan to rebuild your house, or even that big $30,000 or $40,000 grant, you got to go through the SBA emergency loan documentation. And many poor people were saying, I don't want no SBA loan. Y'all not going to trick me in the federal government. I don't have no SBA. I don't have no small business. No, y'all ain't fooling me. I had a house. Come on, people. Know your facts. The emergency protocols of this country direct all federal aid through the SBA. Don't ask me why. That's just what happens. So if you don't fill out that small business application, people, you cannot get the grant money. When you have to pay back, that is due to you. Know your facts. Get the memo. Am I right about that?
Absolutely. So important. People oftentimes will deny it, stating I don't want another loan, but they don't know how that loan can benefit and work for them. So always ask for assistance. Don't deny something or turn something down without knowing how it can help you out. 100% correct, John.
You want to say, you listen to everybody watching this and share this video with all of your friends. You share the Lil Wayne video and share this, you share the Beyonce photographs of the baby. Share, this is about your life, people. Share this broadly. You need to say yes to everything. Whatever the federal government or the Red Cross or the city or the county has for you in the form of support services or Hope Coalition America, you need to say yes. You say no later, okay? Fill out every form you can. Become a form-filling factory, right? Fill out every form you can, and then if you don't want that later, you can always reject it. You're under no obligation to take a loan. In fact, you can take the loan and repay it right away if you decide you don't want a 1% or whatever the interest rate is rebuilding loan from the federal government. But what you don't want to do is get upset or get emotional or get angry because this is a natural disaster. Nobody did this other than human beings not taking care of the planet well enough. So we're causing global warming and all kinds of issues. But this is an act of God. It's an act of nature. Don't get upset with the government. No one's trying to scheme you. By the way, many people in Houston, Jason tells me, did not fill out documentation, did not go in because they have felonies. They've got warrants out for their arrest. They owe money for child support. This is ridiculous. ICE is not looking for you under 20 feet of water. Go fill out the documents. I think everybody's going to give even the criminals a reprieve for 2 weeks. Just don't steal anything else. Just go. If you're a criminal, don't steal anything else. That's a new infraction. If you've got an issue, go fill out. No one has the time. The government is not that sophisticated, people, to put up a portable office and somehow run your data for this emergency aid through ICE's background check and all this other stuff. ICE background check, which is immigration and all this other stuff, and for the local, state, and federal felonies. And no, don't hold this against me. I'm not saying that this is absolutely, everything I'm saying is absolutely the truth. I'm saying that you should not step over a nickel, a dollar to pick up a dime. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying don't rearrange the deck chairs of the Titanic in your life. Don't let fear overwhelm you. You've got to take care of your family, and this is no time to be worrying about whether you're going to be arrested for the warrant. Right? In fact, jail might actually be more comfortable with wherever you're hanging out right now. Yes, I'm using a little humor because you don't laugh, you'll go crazy. Jason, before I flip to Florida, anything else you want to say?
That's it. The most important thing is to seek assistance. You had mentioned our toll-free number, and that's 888-388-HOPE. So you can contact us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call. If you don't need assistance, that's fine, but we might be able to assist and tell you some things that you're not aware of. Like you mentioned with having a felony, that's not FEMA's role. They're not concerned about that. Same thing with immigration custom. They're not looking to deport people. And so we can tell you, well, if you don't have a citizenship here, you can register with FEMA through your child who is a citizen. It doesn't have to be in an adult's name. It can be in that child's name. So some of these things that you may not be aware of or that you're scared of, we're not FEMA. We serve as a liaison to help people get resources. That's our concern, is to make sure underserved communities know what's available.
You there, Jason?
I'm here. Can you hear me, John?
I can. All right. So now let's are there any comments questions I need to Jamie deal with? Let's now move on to Florida. Florida is no joke, people. Get out. That's my primary message to you. This hurricane is larger and wider than the entire state of Florida.
Yeah.
It's as big as the state of Texas, which is the largest state in America. This is so intense in Florida that trucks carrying gasoline are being escorted by police cars. This is how intense it's becoming in Florida. There are 3-hour lines for grocery stores and for sandbags in Florida. If you are near the coast, you need to move as far north inland and then north as you can. Do not mind sitting in traffic. It is better than sitting next to the water. When this disaster strikes, well, you need to be in a storm shelter. If you can't get out of there, you need to get a hold of, download that mobile app from FEMA. I downloaded it today. Download the mobile app for the American Red Cross. And does Hope Coalition America have an app also, Jason?
No app.
But they can go to the website.
They can go to the website, yes. OperationHope.org.
OperationHope.org, or just Google search Hope Coalition America, right?
Yes.
All right, and I want an app in the 30 days, by the way, Jason. You know me very well.
Yes.
What other messages do you want for people to hear that are now, as we wrap up, either recovering from Houston or bearing down, preparing in Florida? And is there any stories or anecdotes that you want to share from your time in Houston given that you're on the ground there?
In Houston, there's a lot of misinformation going out. So what's most important after disaster is correct information. We had that. We can share that. I've had people tell me, well, my home wasn't destroyed, but just my car, and FEMA doesn't cover that. That's incorrect. If you didn't have insurance for your car, that's something FEMA can assist with. And oftentimes, people are saying, well, my neighbor told me this or my cousin told me that. Go to a professional. We participate in the joint field office with FEMA. We're sitting in the disaster recovery center. We're on daily meetings getting updates so we can give accurate information about how you can get the resources. For Florida, as you mentioned, get out. I deal in disaster. I've been doing this for 9 years. I ran out of gas in Houston because of the chaos. You couldn't find gas. And I'm always one. I never let my gas tank go halfway. I'm always storing up on water, food, especially when I'm deployed. In Houston, get gas, try to get your food, evacuate. Do not try to ride this out. 10% of damages, fatalities are caused by wind alone. 90% by wind. 90% is the flood afterwards. So people think, well, I have food, I have water, but they're not preparing for the 90% for the water, the days and weeks later. It could take weeks before power gets back on. And in a situation in Houston, all of the perishable items that the person purchased were spoiled. And so then, as you mentioned, they then caused a stress on first responders to then have to go and evacuate them to try to get them out. So if you have the means, get out. Do not try to ride this storm out. Get to a safe place.
And don't call first responders if you run out of Pampers or you run out of diapers or you run out of milk. I mean, let these people do their jobs and respond to true emergencies. What you heard from him there is that most of the deaths come after the disaster actually hits. And what we're saying about what we do is most of this economic pain is going to hit, I don't know, Jason, what, a month, 2 weeks to 2 months later?
Yes. Yep. Because those dollars are going to go
no
fast.
cars anymore. Home loans, no homes anymore. Small business loans, no small businesses anymore. Bills, no jobs anymore. But the folks calling you from the credit card companies, from the mortgage companies, from the car loan companies, calling from New Jersey or wherever they are, they don't know you're in a disaster. They don't know you're in a disaster zone. And if you don't respond to them, if you don't give them an answer, they're going to put you in a default, which means your bad situation just got worse. But what you don't know is that Hope Coalition America has a memo for you. They've got some services for you through their own staff with Jason and volunteer bankers from all of our partners who volunteer their time to talk to your lenders, to talk to your credit providers, to renegotiate your credit agreements, to give you some peace of mind in times of disaster so you're not dealing with your recovery and your financial stress at the same time and your loss. Let us help you help yourself. I love you. This is John Hope Bryant, unbossed, unbiased, coming to you straight, no chaser, from Atlanta, Georgia, and Jason in Houston, Texas. Jason, your last words for viewers and listeners, either with regard to Houston or what's coming on with Florida.
Just be safe. We're here as a resource, so please call us. Again, the number is 888-388-HOPE. 4673. So call us. If you don't need us, perfect. Just be safe. Those in Florida and in Houston, we're here for you. We're going to be here for the long haul. Thank you, John.
Just remember, people, the people who don't recover from natural disasters are poor people. Let's break this cycle.